Good morning and welcome back to Off the Bounce. It is Friday, July 31st, and I'm your host, Dylan McElroy. Today we're going to be going over the last two games that played on the NBA restart, as well as going into the top 5 plays for this week, and we're going to finish things off by giving a rundown of the games that will happen tonight. But first, let's go ahead and run that intro.
Since a youngin' I've been dreaming, told my brothers to the top, I'ma make it out the ghetto, playing ball out in the lot. Put my heart into the game, now I'm showing why I talk. Be about it, I'm about it, everybody knows my spot. Off the bounce, I'ma get it in. Off the bounce, I'ma get it in. 3-point shot, I'm flicking my wrist. Seeing me shoot, I swear I don't miss. Throwing it up, watch it going like Swish. Raining the buckets, we do it like this. Off the bounce, I'ma get it in. Off the bounce, I'ma get it in. Off the bounce.
The NBA finally restarted. We got to see 4 teams last night, that being the Utah Jazz versus the New Orleans Pelicans, as well as the battle for LA, Lakers versus Clips. The first game on the list was the Pelicans at the Jazz, and I gotta say, this was an excellent game. Whenever it first started, it seemed like the Jazz were just gonna take over. They went on a 10-point or more scoring run at the beginning, but then all of a sudden, JJ Redick and Brandon Ingram, they just started going at it. They caught fire. And for the most of the game, it seemed like the Pels were going to end up winning it. And it shocked me. But then towards the end, actually it started in the third quarter. We saw Jordan Clarkson, a point guard off the bench that nobody would expect to do this. He started just going off. And then you start seeing Donovan Mitchell start hitting his shots. Rudy Gobert did his thing the whole game. Mike Conley was being able to be Mike Conley that we're accustomed to seeing, and not that we haven't seen from him this year at Utah. And all of a sudden the games, they closed that gap. It was very close. And then in the fourth quarter, it got down to the wire, and it just the Pelicans couldn't close. And part of me wants to blame the restrictions on Zion Williamson, because I think he may have played 15 minutes for the whole game. He's on a restriction for an injury, I believe, but you can see in his face that he wanted to be out there. As a matter of fact, that whole fourth quarter where it seemed like they couldn't get anything to fall, I think Zion was maybe in there for the first 2-3 minutes, something like that, and he's too vital for them to sit in those minutes. I think maybe if he would have got to play an average 20 minutes, 5 minutes more, different story. And if you remember from my predictions from last week, I had the Jazz beating the Pelicans in this game. I just did. And if they win this game, and you go based off of how I predict that they're going to finish this bubble season, this could have been the game that they could have stole and got them into that 8 seed. It's just, in my opinion, I know that you got to protect your investments. Zion is clearly the future of this team. Brandon Ingram also, if he chooses to stay. But clearly, you protect your assets, but it shouldn't come. You can't really do that in a game or in a series that you need every one of these 8 wins to be able to make that 8th seed. You got Memphis isn't going to miss a beat, and Portland has most of their pieces back. So you really can't joke around. You shouldn't say joke around, but really can't take games off like this. So I'm going to do more research. I'm going to find out what's going on with Zion, but I do think that cost him the game. And Lonzo's shot selection. Like, this guy, I think Lonzo may have made 3 shots out of the 15 that he took, and it's just he couldn't get started. I was scrolling through Twitter while I was watching the game, and somebody said it looked like Lonzo hasn't touched a ball in 4 months, and it really didn't. Every time that I saw Lonzo grab the ball, I kind of like winced a little bit, because if he wasn't passing the ball or playing defense, he really wasn't helping them out on the court. So the the Jazz ended up winning. The leader for the Pelicans was Brandon Ingram. He ended up finishing with 23 points and 8 rebounds. And my player of the game for this game would have to go to Jordan Clarkson. He ended up finishing the game with 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. So, pretty good game. Rudy Gobert was a close second, but it's just like Rudy goes out there and does this every night. It's almost not even hard for him anymore. So, after that game, the next game was the Lakers versus the Clippers. This is game 4 of the 4-game series that we've been waiting all year for. Now, this was another close game. This one, I think it was down to the last 10 seconds that the Lakers ended up getting the win over them. But this was another game where we watched the scrimmages, and it doesn't look like Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers are really all that much into being in the bubble or what the NBA is doing. They all kind of have some kind of, lack of motivation to be there. And you saw that a lot in that first quarter. That first quarter alone, Anthony Davis scored 14 of his 34 points. And they just couldn't do anything with him. And then you start seeing the second and third quarter. Those were more of Paul George's quarters. They ended up outscoring the Lakers by 10 points in the second quarter and making it a 52-53 game. So a 1-point game. And they kind of kept that motivation into the third quarter. Now, knowing how the Lakers are, I really thought that they were going to lose this game because they typically have not been a fourth quarter team. But between Anthony Davis not taking it off, not taking possessions off, and people started hitting their shots, LeBron, who really wasn't doing too well on the offensive end unless he was throwing an assist, he started making shots. And he also made that game winner with like around 10 seconds left. He also can be, everybody says LeBron don't play defense. If you saw the defense that he was playing on Kawhi Leonard in any kind of closing moments where either that shot clock was going down or the quarter was ending, or especially at the end of the game, LeBron played like the most tremendous defense I've ever seen him play. And he went from guarding Kawhi Leonard, shut Kawhi completely down, and then he moved on to Paul George and shut him down for the final shot. Now, you can also kind of see Paul George was wanting to foul at the end, but it ended up not happening. But very good games. So exciting to have NBA basketball back. It really is. But those were the 2 games we have last night. My player for the game was Anthony Davis. He ended up notching 34 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that before I tried to segue onto my next topic. But, yeah, if these games, maybe not the beginning, but definitely the end, if these games are anything to show what the bubble is going to be, I'm very excited. Because I really thought that this was going to be, unless you're Lonzo Ball, I really thought that these games were going to be bad. I thought that they were going to be sluggish, not wanting to attack as much and everything like that. And these 2 games especially, it looked like everybody was out there to try to prove something. And it wasn't just another regular season game or a bubble game. These were vital games to both of these teams. And you can really tell that, especially by the energy towards the end. But that's all we have for NBA news. So let's hurry up and go into some of the top 5 plays of the week. Now, granted, we only had 1 game, so these top 5 plays are going to be from the teams that played last night. But anyway, let's roll with number 5.
Finishing his time in Miami with some suspensions, a drive called well. Oh! Slammed in by Davis. Loose ball, and here comes Waiters around traffic. The spin, the drive, and the deuce. Pretty play by Waiters.
Whip ahead. Oh, Zion! Razzle-dazzle to Lonzo Ball. What a...
All the decisions up in the front office there, Kev.
I think he's a pretty important... Oh! LeBron James!
Yeah, he can...
By Paul George. 4-second difference. LeBron on the fly. Got his own miss and puts it up and in. LeBron James gives the Lakers the lead.
All right. Well, if you're curious about what games are going to be coming on tonight, Orlando will be playing Brooklyn. Memphis will be playing Portland. Phoenix will be playing Washington. Boston will be playing Milwaukee. And Sacramento will be playing San Antonio. Finally, Houston will be playing Dallas. Now, only 3 of these games are televised. The Memphis at Portland game you can catch on NBA TV. And then the Boston at Milwaukee game and the Houston at Dallas game. Those will both be on ESPN. But it's still basketball. I believe if you have League Pass, you can watch these other games that wouldn't be televised. But those 3 are the ones that are going to be on the main markets. On the main networks. So keep an eye out for those. That's our show for today. So we were supposed to come out with On the Clock. This was supposed to be On the Clock's first day. But between everything going on, it didn't look like I'd be able to do it. I do still plan on putting that out maybe next Monday or maybe this Monday coming up. I'll be able to put it out, but just go ahead and follow Zone 6 Sports Facebook page for any information on that. I included my Twitter in my name now, so if y'all ever want to feel like y'all are watching the game with me, I'm trying to start live tweeting as I'm watching the game, so go ahead and follow that. You can follow Zone 6 Sports on both Facebook or on YouTube. We're on both sites. But that's all we have for today. See you next week.